Okay, let me, oh no, I don't want that. Let me share my screen. Am I sharing my screen right? Yeah, okay, I'm sharing my screen.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so when we're creating a central model and multiple central models for that matter, there's a few different ways to do it. And the first thing always starts with creating a new project. Uh, because you're architectural engineering, I'd recommend you create a project per discipline. Mechanical and plumbing can be in the same template. Electrical would be its own. Electrical has to be its own because just there's some systems and stuff that in electrical that don't really carry over. And then you can have architectural and structural. A lot of times people will do architectural and structural kind of in one uh, kind of model itself. So however you lay that out is completely up to you. If you're creating the architectural one, sometimes I recommend just going and using the default one, and it's defaulting me to metric. So I recommend using the default, just the plain default one versus the architectural one. It's a bit of a stripped down version. I'm just going to use that. Doesn't really matter a whole lot for the purpose of this discussion. So I'm just going to click OK there. And so once you have your file open, the first thing we actually want to do is go up here to click collaborate, and we want to click collaborate right here. And so that's really the gist of creating a central model. It's actually going to ask us to save first. So let me actually let me file save this first, and let me put, I'm going to put it in here. That was supposed to say ArcEng. So I'm just going to save my project in here. And what I might do, just to be really clear, because I think you're going to end up doing this twice, right? Because you're going to save it, and then we have to actually save it again through Collaborate. I'm going to create a folder here called Archive, and I'm just going to put this project one in here. And so let's call it project one. I'll just go dash architectural, and we'll click save. And so now we've saved it. We want to collaborate it. And the reason why I saved that in the archive folder is our actual real file. I'm actually going to save in the main folder. And I just put the non-central model in the archive folder, basically. And so for me, I have two ways of doing this. Ultimately, you only have one, which is within your own network. Typically, most of my projects, we use Autodesk's what they call their construction cloud, and it's a way of using share models and collaboration models and central models online. And it actually, to be frank, it actually works a lot better. But anyways, I digress. So within your network, we're going to click OK. And it's going to start setting up work sets and all that for you already. And it actually might have actually just collaborate. Yeah, okay. It did actually just save this in our archive folder, so that's fine. Let me just go to here. Oh, wrong. I do not know why this is freezing. Okay. It might have actually just converted. Yeah, so yeah, I probably did, yeah. Okay. So I won't do that for the other ones, but this is painful. Yes, we have our architecture model. So when you do collaborating cloud, it actually creates two. But I guess because you're collaborating on the same device, it just converts that file. So I will move that out to the main folder. And so that's our architectural model. I'm just going to draw a bunch of walls here. So we'll just draw some walls there. And I'm going to close this. And actually, before I close, because this is now a central model, yes, we'll click save. So a little bit different process. Okay, so now that we've saved it once, instead of saving, we are never going to save again. So as soon as you create the central model, you're never going to save again. And instead of saving, we're going to sync. So we're just going to click the sync button. You typically will have something that says relinquish all, which doesn't, yeah, so relinquish stuff here. user-created Worksets. You can compact model. I don't really compact model very much, but I would say maybe like once a week or once every couple weeks, compacting models sometimes nice. It just speeds up the syncing. The other thing too that you can do with collaboration and syncing is you can add comments. We don't really use the comment function too much, but since you're working as a team in school, the comment thing might be actually really nice. So when you sync, you just say added walls and just adding a couple words of what you worked on, and that way it tells you and your colleagues, what you did and how you did it. So let's click OK here. And so now we've synced. The model is technically saved when we sync it. And so if I close this, I'm going to actually move this before I do anything. So let's just move this. I don't know why this is freezing. Yeah, so let's move this. I'm just going to cut this and move this. I'd recommend not doing this, but I'm just going to move this to this main folder here. And so we have project one archive, backup. This backup, we'll probably just save some files in there. Just going to use something else because my Windows Explorer seems to be having a connection. Yeah, so this project backup, we'll just save a whole bunch of other files and stuff in there. Let me just open up that central model one more time just to be safe. So with central models, I kind of recommend you don't use this recent thing. I kind of recommend you always clicking open. And when we're going to click open, let's browse to our location there. Copy and moved. Yeah, I didn't like that. I moved that folder, I don't think. Okay, let me just fix that. So if we go back to collaborate, let's click sync here. Okay, we might have to do collaborate again. All right, don't move the file. I'll just leave it in the archive for now. Move this back. Yeah, so since we use BIM 360, it's a little bit different. We can actually do stuff like that. Okay, let's move both of these to here. So, okay, so let's do something here. So, we saved this file in the wrong folder. We can go here, File, Save As project. And we are going to save this out of the archive folder. So we're just going to save this here. I don't know why that's not updated. All right, we'll just save this here. There is an options button, so we can actually make central model after saving. We can do stuff like that. I'm just going to click OK, and we'll click Save. We'll replace the backup. So if you want to move that file, you have to actually go File, Save As. But now that we have it as a central model, and hopefully this is not too confusing, we can just click Sync, and we can sync that. Oh, I might need to actually create a collaboration model. We might actually need to do the File, Save As project. This is actually good. We're getting some troubleshooting in here. Make central model after saving. Let's click OK. Doesn't seem to be saving in the same folder. This is sweet. I'm doing very good at explaining this. Hopefully it makes sense. So let's just click sync here and see if it lets me sync. If not, I'm just going to recreate this. Okay, it did work that time. Okay. And did it put it in our main file, or where did it put it? Oh yeah, it's still in the archive folder. I don't know why. But anyways, that's fine. We'll just leave it in the archive folder. So we have our architectural model created. Let's create another model. So let's go to File, New Project. We're going to create a let's create a mechanical model. You could do mechanical and plumbing separately. I would say most people typically do them together. Doesn't really matter. But if it's easier for you to have a separate mechanical model or separate mechanical and plumbing model, I mean, obviously you can do that. So let's click open here. We'll click new project. And I'm going to see if I can. I might just save this in the archive folder just to be safe. I'm going to close that architectural model. So let's just save, and let's save that in the same folder.
Let's see.
Thanks. So let's just save this in the same folder. And we'll just call this project 1 mechanical. And once we have it saved as mechanical, we'll go collaborate within our network. Just remember, again, we want to make sure it's in the right folder before we do anything. I think what I need to do is I need to detach the model and then resave it, which I can show you how to do. So now we have our mechanical model here, and let's just draw a piece of ductwork in here. So let's just draw a duct. And let's just look at what that looks like in 3D. So it's a duct kind of floating in space here. So now that we have our 2 models set up, the one thing that's going to be really important for all of you is these coordinates. I could probably talk a little bit more about these coordinates if you want. What I kind of recommend is there's 2 dots in here. One is the project base point. One is the survey point. I kind of recommend you move the survey point, and I don't normally teach this because this is really complicated, but I almost recommend you move the survey point away. And the rationale for very specifically to your discipline is you guys will probably end up dealing with very large models. And so when you have a centralized survey point, what you can do is have parts of models. So you could have, grid lines A to G and then G to X and then X to AA or whatever. And so you can have the building in certain spots. But what you would end up doing is you would coordinate and link this survey point in. Again, maybe I'll just leave it there for now. What semester are you guys in for architectural engineering? Senior. So it might not be that important to have that right now, but maybe soon it might be. So it might be something that you want to do. Anyways, I digress. So the last part of this process is linking. So we want to go to insert, link Revit, and we're going to link Revit from that. And we're just going to link in our architectural model. And the positioning here is what I was just kind of talking about. So you could link it from origin to origin. You could link it from survey point to survey point. And then see our walls are here now. But we can't really edit our walls. And so the last part of this exercise is I would pin this architectural model. So we'll click pin. And that just makes sure that we can't move that architectural model. And so now that we're done, I think we just have to hit save once here. And then again, syncing. After we get the file set up, it's all about syncing. So we'll click sync. We can relinquish user-based worksets. We can compact our model if we want. As you do this more, it's going to become slower and slower. So that took me a few seconds. Some of our models will take a lot longer than a few seconds. So again, I highly recommend you do not open your model from here. I think this will likely cause issues. So you always want to go to File, Open, and we can go open our architectural model now. And okay, I really screwed up that model. Okay, so let's just talk about how to fix what I just did. So instead of going open, we're going to go to open and we're going to go to detach from central. And I'm going to move both of these files out of the archive folder. So we're going to open detach from central. The other tool before I get out of here that might be very useful for you is audit. Audit, if you end up having a corrupted file, you can actually open and audit the file, and it'll sometimes be able to remove the corruption from the file. Doesn't happen very often, but I would say when you're working on central models and you have multiple people and you have, multiple models all linked in together, corruption is maybe a little bit more common. Again, it doesn't happen too often. So we're gonna detach from central. We're gonna click open. We can actually preserve Worksets, or we can. I mean, I think in this case it doesn't really matter. I'll just discard them, but you could preserve them if you have very specific Worksets. And then I'm gonna go to File, Save As here, Project, and we're gonna save this in our proper folder now. And it's called detached. So I'm just going to rename this to not be detached. Detaching is kind of scary, but let's click save here. And then we'll go back up to collaborate. We'll click collaborate here within our network. Click save. And then we'll click sync. So sorry, the saving and syncing you only have to do once. Once you've done that, it'll always just be syncing. So let's do that. And then let's move our mechanical model. So let me click our mechanical model here, which I told you not to do. Actually, let's go to file open. File open, archive. Let's click our mechanical model. Let's detach it. Let's click open. Let's discard Worksets for now. And let's click save. So now our mechanical model can be out here. These 001s, these are backup files. I think they will normally go up in here, but you don't want to typically touch those. So we'll save that, and we'll go to collaborate here within our network. And let's just sync this. And then the last part of this exercise is just linking back in the mechanical model into the architectural. So let's sync that. So again, I'm just going to practice what I preach and actually just go in here and click open the architectural model. Or we cannot create a new. Okay, I'm going to do this again. I'm going to do this. I'm going to uncheck create new local file. Yeah, okay, so we have this here. We're going to go to insert. We're going to go to link. We're going to link in our mechanical model now. Origin is fine. We'll click open. And we don't see anything because remember our ductwork is up high. It's like kind of in the ceiling. And so let's go to our 3D view here and you will see our ductwork. And again, I usually try to practice this. I'll grab this mechanical model and I'll pin it. That way we just can't move it by accident. Highly recommend you trying to make sure you pin all the models. And as you kind of layer on more models, you layer on structural, you layer on plumbing, whatever you have, it's kind of the same process. And you just basically link everything in together. And so how many disciplines do you have with this project?
So there's three. There's mechanical, electrical, and structural.
Okay.
And then we have just the architecture model from the program director.
Okay, yeah. So you'll keep the architectural model in its own model, and then you layer those three models in on top of that.
I have a quick question. So,
Sure.
We set up similarly to how like we had to detach the given model for the architectural and then link in the furniture plan and another plan that they also gave us for the main central model for the architecture. But so we would just create the new for each discipline and then use that architectural as the main model. And then I know you said not to use the create local copies. So does that mean that only one person can be in each model at one time?
No, it shouldn't. That error, I think, is because my computer's confused because I have one called Project One Architectural, and then I also have one that's in the archive folder called Project One Architectural. So I think the reason why it's not letting me do that is because of that. Let me see if I can find that, because I think if I can delete that local file, it will. Let's just sync this. And actually, let me just draw. I'm just going to draw another wall here, just so we're showing some change in the model. Just sync. We'll just relinquish Worksets, and yeah. So typically you can work in the same model. You just can't be touching the same element. So theoretically, you can't touch the same wall, but you could actually be in the same floor plan. I typically recommend people kind of work on different things. So like if you're both modeling mechanical, maybe you model mechanical on different floors or different aspects or different parts of the building. Let me just see if it will let me open this and see if it'll let me create a new. I don't know why it's doing that. I think I do need to delete that local file. Let me just delete this one and see if that will affect anything.
I think the local is automatically checked.
Yeah. Okay, I gotta find where the local files are on the computer. Because like basically what it'll do is it'll save your local file in probably app data, which is like a folder like that's kind of hidden on your computer. Let's see here. It's either app data or it's in your documents folder. See if I can find it. Because I think the reason why it's giving me that error is I have two central models called Project One Architectural. Okay, let me just go here. It doesn't. I don't know why it doesn't want me to create a new. Um, Maybe it's because I already have a local file created. Again, we typically see it wants to create a new local file. So maybe we just don't. We're going to use the same existing local file that it's already created in cache. So maybe that's actually not a problem. So username documents. Okay, let me just go here. If we go to options, we go to file locations, default path for user files. So it's putting them in my documents folder here. I don't see it in there. Sweet. Yeah, so I actually don't think it's a problem that you're not creating a new local file, because the rationale is you already have a local file, so you're just continuing to work with that local file. And when we sync here, the syncing is updating that local file as well. So yeah, I don't think that's a problem. And then when you open up the model, it's going to grab the most recent items from that central file and update your local model. And if you have a discrepancy, it'll come up with something saying your local model is more updated than the central model. Would you like to keep your files on your local model, or would you like to keep the files in the central model? And typically I usually say no, because I know my team's kind of working on stuff. And so I say no because my model's probably out of date at that point. So in a nutshell, I would say you want to pretend and and ignore the fact that there's a local file, a local model. It just kind of erase that from your brain. It's all about the central model, and it's all about syncing that central model. And once you have that created, again, we can click open. We can go to our mechanical model. And I'm just going to uncheck. Again, I don't know why it's making me do this. I usually use BIM 360. So BIM 360 automates a lot of procedures with this. But we could add another piece of ductwork in here. Maybe add something that's bigger. And we can click sync. The other tip I'll also have for you is when you're working locally with central models, you cannot have two models open at the same time because it'll break the link. And so what that means is if I go to open our other architectural model here, it should, yeah, so it's going to say opening the model is basically going to break the link. So if I click yes, it's going to unlink that file, which is not permanent. It's just going to temporarily unlink that file. So now we can see if I go to my 3D and my architectural model, there's no mechanical. And if I go to my mechanical model, there's no architectural. And so to fix that, we would just go back into insert manage links, and we would have to go here and we have to click reload. And so if I close my mechanical model, let me just sync this. And I go back to insert manage links, I can click reload, and it'll reload and put it back in the same place. So now my mechanical is back there. The trick I have for you as well is you can actually open two instances of Revit. So I can open Revit here and I can open Revit here. And in this one, I could have my architectural model. And over here, I can open up my mechanical model. So that's kind of a little trick I use sometimes. So for all of you, that actually might be extremely useful if you want to work in your architectural model and then work in your specific discipline at the same time. So let's open up this, and let's actually just try. It might be just me not closing Revit is what's not allowing it to create a new local. So that seemed to be fine. So let's just go manage links here. Let's go to reload. And so now you can see that I can have two models open at the same time. Let's just copy this wall over. So I have another wall copied over, and I can go up here and I can't see my controls because Teams is blocking it. I can click sync here. We can sync this. And I can go back to my other model here, my mechanical, and I can actually just click sync here. I might have to do something else. Let's just check and see if that works. Let's click sync there. And then what I'll do up here is I'll go to manage links and I'll just go to reload. And once I reload, it's going to add that other wall. So this is kind of a trick I have for if you're working locally with two central models. Revit doesn't like to have those links work. And so by going to insert manage links, you can then update stuff kind of real time between the two models. So other questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
When we want to do like good coordination, so we would like to see like mechanical, electrical, and structural inside each model as well. Can we do multiple link Revits, or would it just be architecture?
Okay. Yeah. So what I would say is every model is linked into each other. So you link your architectural into your structural, you link your architectural into your mechanical, plumbing, electrical, whatever. And then you also link your electrical into your structural, electrical into mechanical, electrical into architectural, so on and so forth. So basically you're just everything's kind of getting linked together. When it inevitably gets overwhelming, you can just go up here and you can click unload. and it's going to ask you if you'd like to unload for just you or all users. I'm running 2025, so this might look a little bit different, but this dialogue is very much the same for all of them. It just, I think for some reason I don't know, they changed some stuff around. So you can just click unload for me. And so this will not unload for everyone in your team. It'll just unload for you. And then when you go to sync again, it'll probably reload the model. But for me, sometimes what I'll do is I'll unlink some of the models, just so I can see stuff. Because as you kind of get more complexity kind of combined, it's going to be overwhelming, right? So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
And
Other
I have-
questions?
I had
have
another. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, it's just that we have those two links that Peyton mentioned for the architectural model, the furniture one, and also a more detailed one. And when we created one central model, so maybe that's why we should have just left it in the architectural model and had everybody creating their mechanical, electrical, and structural. But we were having issues viewing the links when we opened up the central model. So you would have to go in, manage the links, and reload it. But once somebody had reloaded it, you cannot access those elements anymore. It would come when I tried to access it after somebody reloaded theirs, it would tell me that somebody holds ownership of that element and I can't access it. And then we just had
Yes.
it where it glitched out and we couldn't see anything anymore.
Yeah, so I think the first thing you want to do is you want to have a model per discipline. Again, you don't necessarily have to, but I think it'll make you a lot more organized and it'll make a lot simpler. When you are working with a model, if, for example, it says, as you said, that someone has ownership, what I typically do is I'll go up here, I'll go to sync. I'll sync this. I'll make sure any checkboxes other than compact, I'll make sure all the checkboxes are checked. I'll click sync. And then what I'll do up here under collaborate, there's another button that says relinquish all mine. I'll click that button and then I will sync again. So that's typically my process. If it says I have ownership of something that someone else is trying to access, I do the sync, relinquish all mine, and then sync again.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And I think I don't fully understand your setup right now, but I think if you're using the architectural model as your central model and not having other central models, I don't know if that will really work. Again, I would pretend the local file, the local model, just pretend that doesn't even exist. It's really all about the central model. So the local models are basically just some archive that Revit buries in the background, and they're really not important at all.
Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
I had one quick question. Do have to jump off in a few minutes for class. But one last question from my end. When we did create, because we did a very similar process, I believe, when we created our central model for the architectural and the linked architectural, but we're running into issues, even if it is saved in the same folder and in the same network, that the links are like they don't load in every time either. So like right now, I opened their central model for the architectural with the linked furniture plan and the linked other architectural plan, and they both have like a red X next to it. And then when I click, let me see if I can share my screen
Yeah,
quickly too,
sure.
if
Yeah.
that would help. Okay.
Yeah. So I think what's happening, did I correctly? Yeah. Okay. So right click or go to insert manage links. I'm kind of thinking what might be happening is, what's that status say? Enclosed work set. Is that what it says?
Yeah.
You widen the column, pull it. Yeah. Enclosed work set.
Huh. Okay, so click OK and go down to the work sets at the bottom. Yeah, so click on the little button beside work sets. Yeah, it kind of looks like that those links are loaded into another work set and those work sets aren't open, and so that's why it's not showing. We don't heavily use work sets, to be honest with you. I think they're great, but I think you're better off having multiple models. Um, and I think that will release some confusion with the work sets. If you go reload, if you go reload,
Yeah, I
it's
was gonna
fine,
try
right?
that. Let me see. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
So we just have to reload the links then for
yeah.
if it ever does that little error. Okay.
Yeah. So I would recommend starting by setting up the whole system based on what we talked about. So having your architectural model as one model, having your mechanical as one model, electrical as one model, and structural as one model, and then you link all those models in together. Uh, and then when you guys access that as a team, you're opening the central model, and when you're finishing, you're syncing that file.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing, I reloaded them and they're not populating in the model. There should be a bunch of furniture
It's
throughout
probably
all
because
the
it's
floors.
probably because the work sets are off. So go to the work sets. Sorry, click the button beside work sets and go to are they under construct where
It
do you
says
want
they're not
model?
open. Oh yeah. You ain't on that.
So if you click, are they in construction or which model are they in?
The architectural,
Yeah.
I'm in the architectural model right now.
Do you know
And
what
we're
work set they're in though?
uh
Maybe
I'm not
right click on construction and click open.
Oh, should I open all of them maybe?
Yeah, you could try that. I don't know which work set they're in.
Because we also created the work sets to try and create that, so that might have been, we could always restart and try from the beginning.
I
Oh,
find,
okay,
yeah. So is in one of those hidden work sets. I find work sets are really confusing for people.
okay,
We don't have really complex models. So I mean, we have complex models, but I'm talking about a complex home, not a complex, like multi-story building with furniture and everything. So work sets, I think, are useful in very large buildings, but when you have smaller buildings, they're maybe not as useful. So I would focus on having the multiple models, not the work sets. Typically, what I would recommend from a work set perspective is you have a discipline specific work set. So, for example, your electrical model, you have an electrical discipline in that model. And then the one discipline that every model will have is what you're on right now, shared levels and grids. And what that'll do is you can keep all your levels and grids kind of in a locked work set, and that so people can't change and modify those. Um, yeah, and then once you sync all those models in together, that should make things a lot simpler. And if the furniture is its own model as well, like I would do the same. You'd have your architectural model, you'd have your furniture model, and then you'd have your three disciplines on top of that. So
okay. So like probably like lock and pin the furniture model then in the architectural model and
yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
And
So
then
it's like
once we
you're basically cross-linking everything in together.
Okay, and so just so I'm following too as well, if this is our main central model and we don't want to like have to link in the furniture models into everything as well, we could just have them linked into this and will they populate when we link this model into something else?
You're gonna have to link it in everyone.
Okay, so we'll have to
Yeah,
link in every single
yeah.
one. Okay.
So it's you basically have like you know for purposes of what I was just showing you, you'd have project one architectural, project one, I would probably just call it interior, or I guess you could call it furniture. So project one architectural, project one furniture, project one electrical, project one structural, project one mechanical. So you have
Okay,
5 models in that case. Yeah.
got it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Peyton,
Yeah.
hey
Yeah.
Peyton, is the other link in there? Because I think it had some of like the interior walls and stuff. There was one for the furniture and there was another one for like some of like the interior partitions. Is that in there too?
It should
Yeah,
it should
I
Could
it
you
should be.
could you go to one of the floor plans real quick?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, they're not in there. The TI one, I think that one has like the interior partitions.
Yeah, so if you have a TI model, then you're gonna have to have another model. So the cool thing is once you get it set up, it's super simple, right? But like it's obviously a little bit of work to get all these disciplines set up. And I just think it's a lot easier having one model per discipline, because then you can have a little bit more control over how that showed. I don't think any of you have taken my BIM for building systems classes, have you?
No.
No.
Okay. If you want to send me, so what I'll do is I'll upload this video on YouTube as well. And then what I'll do is I'll send you a link of a playlist for BIM for building systems. And then you can certainly watch those videos as need be.
Great, thank you
Sounds
so
good.
much. I have to
Yeah.
jump
You're
off for
welcome.
class, but if you guys had anything else, I gotta jump off. But thank you
No
so much
problem.
for your help.
Thanks, Peyton. Yeah, and so if you have, I'll send you those videos. I probably won't have time to go through and give you specific places to go in the videos, but I'll give you those videos and you can kind of skim through them, and I'll see if I can find some stuff. I think the first couple videos I kind of go over some linking stuff, and then obviously I think this video will hopefully help you get organized with everything. And yeah, certainly let me know if you have any additional questions with it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem. Have a great day.
Thank you
You
too, Corbin.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.